Hey everyone. So today we're going to be talking about going through a spiritual awakening, or as I prefer to phrase it, are you on a spiritual journey or are you just going crazy? Maybe. But before I even dive into this, I do want to point out I am always very resistant to say that you'll know you're on this path when you hit this, and this point. Because when you're on any journey, there's always 1,000 ways to get from point A to point B. So everybody's experience is going to be a little bit different. But there tends to be some similarities. Through the many years that I've been going through my process and my journey, I've talked to many, many other people, and there tends to be some reoccurrences. And a lot of times within the community, when you're talking about this, it'll be like, yeah, I'm going through this. And somebody else will jump in and say, yeah, I've experienced that too. So it's mainly those similarities that I've noticed along my journey, or those that I've shared this path with, that I'll be sharing with you today. So for anybody who's never been here before, hi, I'm Elizabeth Blackwell from Blissful Home and Body. And I spent well over the last 10 years of my life studying everything that I could so that I could help others set sacred space and help them to their highest and greatest selves. So let's get started. So before I get into giving some of these things that you may experience along your spiritual awakening, I just want to say stay to the end, because after I give these 10 things, I'm actually going to give you a little bit of a bonus tip, which will wrap all of these things together so that you can truly understand what your spiritual awakening is all about. So let's just first talk about what is a spiritual awakening or a spiritual journey. Well, this one can go pretty deep, and we'll kind of get further into it as I start to go into, the signs of the things that you can tend to experience. But at its core, it's when you start to realize that you are more than just this body that is here and the mind, which all your thoughts go through. It's when you start to get in touch with that more soul part of yourself. The way that I really like to look at it is it's that moment when you truly realize that we are all divine beings having a temporary human experience. It's when you start to get in touch with the more divine side of yourself, as well as your connection to everything else around us and the divinity within that. So for the first sign, which I almost kind of think is part of the definition, is increased self-awareness. This is where you start to wake up and realize that you are more than just a body and a mind, that there's something that kind of starts to stir within you, and you start to begin a path of self-discovery. It is that moment when it kind of connects with you, or maybe this is the exact moment where you realize that you truly are a divine being having a temporary human experience. That when this body is gone and the electrical impulses which make up our thoughts and our feelings are no longer firing, that you will still be in existence. It's that tapping into the fact that there's something more. And then you start to go within and discover who you really are in your true and authentic self. For the second sign, it feels kind of broad at first, but I will get more specific as we go through these other signs, which is you start to feel a connection to the universe around you. And whether you want to call it God, source, divine creator, doesn't really matter. But you start to have a realization that there was something that created everything, everyone, and all that we see and don't see. And that there is a connection between all of it. And because my brain works this way. I always wanted to know why that was. And so there's actually now starting to be quite a bit of scientific backing amongst this about how this connection works when you get into quantum physics and quantum theory. And that's where you get really cool. But for today, we'll keep it a little bit simpler. It's just when you start to feel that connection to the world around you. The third sign is going to be deeply personal to each individual, which is you start to experience emotions in a deeper way. And it's one of the reasons why I kind of joke where you kind of start to feel like you're going crazy, because emotions, and one of my favorite phrases is emotions are energy in motion, but they start to just feel more. Joy starts to feel higher and more lifted, but also sadness will resound more deeply within you. And again, everybody will experience this a little bit differently, but it's just where all of your emotions seem like they've gone up a notch and they just feel more as you go through them. This next one's a fun one. Actually, it can be, which is you will tend to see your relationships change. Now, this can happen very early on, or it can happen years into your spiritual journey. Really, the reason for this is that as you go within and as you start to tap into what your true and authentic self is, that you will evolve and you will change. And not everybody will want to see you change. Not everybody will be on board with that. So you may see yourself either losing individuals that you once resonated with, or your relationships changing. But the more fun part of this, or the more lifted side to this, is that you will start to attract new relationships. And these people will deeply resonate with you. This is where you start to attract what I like to call your soul family. Those individuals who you can truly be in connection with and show who your true authentic self is, and they will encourage that and they will love you for exactly who you are. So I think we're on number 5 now, which is you will become more sensitive. And I don't mean your feelings are hurt more easily, although that may happen. But this is more about that you will be in touch with an intangible feeling. So as you approach a person, before they even say a word, you may get a feeling of who they are. Or as you walk into a space, it will feel one way or another to you. Again, energy at its core is neither good nor bad, but it's how we receive it. So when you approach somebody and you get kind of a bad or negative feeling, what that means is that person is having traits to them which don't resonate with you, which if you are a light and loving person, these tend to be more low vibe frequencies. But before I get too off tangent, it is the fact that you'll become more sensitive to these things, that you will feel in your gut or your intuition, we'll get there in a minute, more than necessarily your external senses. So things will go beyond what you can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and you will feel it within, and your sensitivities will increase. And just a small note at this, you may start to notice some of your psychic abilities start to come out here. So number 6 here is that you may start to seek solitude more. And this is not that you are now becoming an introvert, but it is as you go along this journey that you will want to seek deep reflection more. You'll need to be outside of the noise that surrounds us when we are either in the exterior world or surrounded by people, that you'll want that quiet time so that you can actually get to know who you really are. And this is the time where you can start to discover what your real beliefs are, what your boundaries are, what your blockages are, what your goals are, all of those things. But that requires you to be away from the rest of the world, or to at least be in a space that allows you to go within, whether that's being completely alone or within an environment that you can, we'll just give the example of at a coffee shop, you can pop headphones on and still kind of be within yourself. So you will potentially, again, this is a deeply personal journey, but you will potentially seek solitude more. And this is one that I see a lot, and it's absolutely one that I've seen on my own journey. I'm a naturally extroverted person. When I'm out and around people, it gives me energy overall, but need that alone time in order to do that inner work, in order to continue on your spiritual journey or your awakening. Number 7 is that you will start to question things more, whether that is social norms and the constructs around us. These usually have to do with things or individuals within power that have taught us what we should believe. But you'll start to question all of these things a little bit more. You'll start to ask yourself, why do we do it this way? Why do we believe this? And you'll start to realize that the truth for one is not the truth for everyone. And so you'll find yourself questioning more and more, whether it is things that is close to you or the big things that control the world. But all of those questions will start to come up in your mind, and you will slowly start to put those questions out into the world. And you'll question yourself more. But there will be a lot of questions along your spiritual journey. And part of the journey is going within or without to find the answers to those things. Number 8 is your intuition will start to become stronger and almost more fiery, if that's a good word to phrase it, that you will connect with that gut feeling of things a lot more. And the only little thing that I will kind of put in here is that you do want to be careful between what is your intuition versus what is your subconscious programming. I'm actually going to do a full video on how to know those subtle differences. But your intuition overall is that gut feeling. And it's generally, the rule of thumb is what you feel in the first 7 seconds before your head or mind starts to kick in and starts to talk yourself either into or out of things. But whatever that gut feeling is in the first 7 seconds, overall, that's a generality, that is where you are being pulled. And you'll notice that your intuition is much more frequent, and it is much more on target. Number 9 is certainly a very frequent one, which is that material things will change how they affect you. You may either completely lose your desire for materialistic things in this world, the idea of having stuff for the sake of stuff, or it will evolve itself. Certainly things like the idea of material things for status tends to change itself. And you tend to go for more items that serve a purpose for you, as opposed to items that are just there. And so one of the things that you may discover, because spaces are one of my specialty, is that the amount of things that you want in your space will significantly drop. That you will only want items that surround you to be items that serve a purpose to you in some way, shape, or form. And number 10, which goes back to the heart of what a spiritual awakening is, which is you will have a significant drive for meaning and purpose, especially within your own life. You will have this seeking for what your soul came here to do, whether that is learn something, experience something, build something, heal something, that you have this understanding that your soul incarnated here for a reason. And you will have a drive to figure out what that reasoning is so that you can understand your meaning behind yourself and your purpose for being here. So this is my little bonus tip about things that you may experience along your spiritual awakening, which is you will start to have a true understanding of what unconditional love is, that you will start to see everybody as on their own journey, and things like judgment tend to become much less of a thing for you because you want everybody to be on their own path of discovery. And so you want to allow them to go through all of those things in their own way. So you give them unconditional love and unconditional kindness so that they can go through their own journey. And this goes back to the fact that you see the interconnectedness, there we go, of all of us, knowing that we all come from one original source and that we all affect each other. So you'll get that idea that when you put out that unconditional love from what you want to be, that it's of benefit to everyone and everything. I deeply hope that this video helped you out along your spiritual journey and your awakening. If it did, please hit that like button, as it really does help out small channels like this, or consider subscribing here as we build this community of individuals who are on their journey to their highest and greatest selves. So with that, I will just say that I am sending you all so much light and love, and I hope you all stay well, my friends.